Welcome to a special edition of Front Porch Politics. I'm Tim Boyum, coming to you from our nation's front porch here in Washington, D.C. You know, about a month ago, I had a great idea. We're going to come up to Washington, D.C., talk to some new members of Congress in North Carolina, experts with Tar Heel backgrounds about a new president returning to Washington, D.C., and a new Congress. Then this happened, a major snowstorm, and the city is essentially shut down. But have no fear, we still have a show. We are going to talk to some new members of Congress. We're going to talk to some Tar Heel experts with North Carolina backgrounds. We're going to talk to some of our Spectrum News reporters as well. So let's head upstairs to our comfy studios and talk with three new members of Congress from North Carolina. Gentlemen, first of all, it's great to see you. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. I know it's hard to get three members of Congress at any time together, so we appreciate it. How has it been? I mean, none of you have been members of Congress before. I know you ran before, but how has it been? Has it been overwhelming, exciting, all of the above? What's it been like?
I mean, I think everybody says it's like drinking out of a fire hose, but in reality, I think it's like looking at a wall of fire hoses and having to figure out which one to drink from. Like that's how it feels to me. But it's overwhelming, but in a good way, because there's so much coming at you, but you're so ready to get to work.
So just to actually be here and be responsible for the adequate representation of the folks that I represent in the 10th District of North Carolina, that's a huge privilege. It's a huge honor.
How much of it is just figuring out how to get around?
A lot, a lot. As you know, there's a lot of tunnels and corridors and whatnot, and added to it the security measures and the snow. There's a lot of complications, but slowly but surely we're figuring out where to go and where to be and so forth.
One thing I've noticed just in my few days here up in Washington is there feels like a sense of urgency, particularly on Republicans, to get things done and get things done quickly.
Many of us are motivated to do so by the policies that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris put in place. Specifically, for me at least, it was the open border and the crime that compounded from those policies. And, you know, less than an hour ago, the three of us were on the floor voting on the Lake and Riley Act. And so the motivation, there's always some sort of political lens, but the majority of it is really to try to undo a lot of the problems that we saw and those problems which motivated us to run for office.
And I think follow through on the promises that everyone made on the campaign trail to the American people. We have a lot to undo, as Brad said, and we are intent on actually doing that.
This is not an institution, that we're talking about this off camera, that moves fast typically, though. Can it get done? Is there a danger of doing it too fast?
Well, some of it got done, like with the Lake and Riley Act. That bill was passed in the previous Congress from the Republican House, and it was basically sidelined by the Democratic Senate. But because we had that text already worked out in the 118th Congress, all we had to do is just bring the bill back up and send it over to the now Republican Senate.
So let's talk about immigration and the border first, since you guys brought that up. There's been a lot of pretty big promises out there about what's going to happen, and talk of deporting millions. What does that look like? What does success look like on that?
I think it's been made pretty clear to my district and the folks that I've met around the state why I ran for Congress. And it's because I've been personally impacted by the open border policies of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats.
Yes, we have to get rid of many criminal illegal aliens who are here already, but dismantling the incentive structure that currently exists for millions and millions and millions of illegals to be here.
And what's happening through this process here in Washington is you're taking subject matter experts like Brad, you're taking those who are affected like Addison's family, and you're combining all of that with off-the-shelf ideas that already exist, and you're synthesizing all of those through the lens of what's politically possible, and the outcome that you're going to get from that is a comprehensive immigration strategy that will expel folks who should not be here, that are criminals, and whether they're criminals or not, folks that should not be in this country need to leave this country. They are not authorized to be here. And I think the direction that you might be going is, okay, well, what about the good people that are here in this country? I'm just going to tell you, my constituents, they do not want to hear about what to do with legal immigrants who are still in this country when folks are being burned on the subway or kids are being sexually abused by illegal immigrants who should not be in this country.
The curious viewers I know are going to ask, when you said personally impacted,
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
Yeah, so my little brother passed away. He was killed by fentanyl that was, it was almost certainly manufactured in China and smuggled in through our southern border. And so that's what led me to run for Congress, was that personal tragedy. And it's families like mine and like Lake and Riley's family that have felt this pain
What else is at the top of your kind of agenda list of what you hope gets done sooner than later?
Reduce government regulation, decrease taxes, and allow small businesses that sit on Main Street to be as successful as they can possibly be.
What was the moment when you got sworn in and walking out on the floor for the first time?
My kids were on the floor with me. They're a little bit older. They're 5 and 7. And my 5-year-old was just completely asleep.
She was literally on the floor.
Laying down sideways. Had no idea, what's going on, the impact of the occasion. And my 7-year-old was curious as to what was going on. But it was really wonderful to participate in such a time-honored tradition.
I mean, the words and the oath that we took are very powerful. And being able to do that and look around the gallery and see my mom and dad and my wife and having to hold a child on the floor, how special is that? Yeah. My wife has also changed a diaper on the floor of the house, which that can't be a big club.
When you see your kids on the floor of Congress, it's hard not to see everyone else's kids that you represent as well, and understanding that the actions that you take, the votes that you take in that chamber are going to affect their lives directly. That's a very powerful thing.
I had my oldest daughter on the floor, but on the other end of the age spectrum, my grandfather was there.
I've been talking to Republicans this week because all the newcomers are Republicans, but you do represent Democrats. There are Democratic members of Congress. What can you tell to them? That, there's a lot of talk about what Donald Trump, the Republicans are going to do, but what do you tell those Democrats?
My district specifically, a lot of the issues that were the most urgent for voters, for the first time in a long time, it was not the economy. It was crime. It was illegal immigration. It was the open border. It was fentanyl. I jumped into this race, jumped into this position with the hope of tackling those problems that are more, I would say, broad. They're American problems, not just Republican or Democrat problems.
I'll help anyone who comes through my door, but let me be clear. I was not sent here to go along with the Democrats and their agenda. I was sent here to stop it.
President Trump, he ran on dismantling that woke, crazy leftist Democratic agenda that doesn't necessarily actually represent what rank and file Democrats actually believe. And I think all of us, we take anybody that would come into our office, have a conversation with them every day of the week. But we are up here to accomplish a task, and that task is to get America back on a principled track that leads to the historic success that we have seen throughout our nation's history, and that's exactly what we're going to go do.
Well, good luck to all three of you. I appreciate your time. I look forward to many more conversations.
Thanks,
Thank you
Tim.
very much.